When the righteous rule, the people rejoice. When the wicked rule, the people mourn. Who's in charge right now? That's easy to figure out. The righteous have disengaged. They haven't been engaged in the process, and that's left a void, which the enemy always will move in and fill if you let him have your authority. And what do you think is going to happen? It's a no-brainer. I was thinking about the time of the judges when Samson was trying to, the Lord was trying to set the people free from the Philistines through Samson. And they said, don't you know that they rule over us? Romans 13. And so they handed him over to the Philistines. And of course he was able to escape in that particular instance. Broke the ropes or whatever it was. And the same way, you know, the Lord was trying to set the Israelites free from Egypt. And they just, all he wanted to do was go back to Egypt. But I had a dream. I think this is relevant because I had a dream, and that's what this is about. It's a dream update. This was in 2012, and I dreamed of what turned out to be a hurricane. I didn't know what it was going to be. It was some sort of event with a water spout of some type coming ashore, but this was really ushering in a new season that was being ushered in. This had really nothing to do with, you know, the weather event. It was more about something was being ushered in through this. This was very significant. And I dreamed the same thing twice. The Bible says you dream the same thing twice. It's going to happen, and it's going to happen soon. It's set. Not going to be reversed through prayer or anything else. This is going to happen. It's going to, and this is when Pharaoh dreamed the same thing twice, and the Bible talks about that. And I think it's Genesis 39, 40, 41, somewhere in there. And it's set. It's going to happen. And it did happen 3 weeks later. This was Hurricane Sandy. That dream is on my channel along with the last update if you want to watch it. Not fine. So it was Hurricane Sandy, and eventually later on I looked up what did the name Sandy mean, because I thought that maybe that was significant, and it basically means, you know, you're covered with sand. You got sand in your undergarments, sand in your shoes, sand in your ears, sand under your shirt. Not the most pleasant of times, and that is what we've experienced. We've been in that season since 2012, and then there was a third part of my dream, which I did not know the answer to. It was left with a question mark. I was very troubled about it, and the update spoke about Hurricane Isaias, and so that was when I looked up the meaning of the word Sandy, and then I looked up the meaning of the word Isaias, and it means Jehovah has saved, which was very comforting at that time, because what I thought was going to happen, and thank God that did not happen, but we were still in this season, this same season of demonic oppression, you know, where the righteous, the opposition to righteousness being restored, not only in our land, in the world, because that's what God wants to do, and I think that's what we're witnessing globally. Global righteousness, justice, freedom, global restoration. I believe that's what we're witnessing across the board, places that you wouldn't think even. And so I gave that update, and I was thinking the other day during the election, and I just, you know, when is this season coming to an end and we move into the next season? Because yes, Jehovah has saved us from what we didn't want to happen, but we were still in this season, this same season of demonic oppression over the world, the entire world, not just America, but the world. The whole world is being squatted on by the wickedness, by the enemy. And during the election, people were talking about this red wave, and I was watching on election day, and I just had the sense that, you know, the season is over. We're moving into a new season. And the world's going crazy. I just had the sense that we were moving into a new season. And I thought, could this be true? Could my dream have now be completely fulfilled in this season that was ushered in by Hurricane Sandy now be over? The third part of my dream, which I thought would take roughly 10 years, it turns out it's been about 10 years and 1 month, now be over, and the resolution of that over, and we're moving into a new season. I kind of felt like we were, but then I got frustrated because it looked like some funny things were happening with this election, and that we would somehow be denied and that be postponed for another couple of years. If you watched my last update video, I talked about how things were going to be restored. I thought we were going into the roaring 20s. I still do. But I thought that things would go on for a few more months, that things would not be resolved in November of 2020, but that things would go on for a few more months. Could it be a little bit longer? I didn't think it would be a few more years. There's a big difference in, 3 or 4 months and 24 months. Quite a big difference, and I certainly didn't want to wait another 2 years before we could move out of that season of oppression into this new season where the Lord had been wanting to take us for a long time. We just need to cooperate and get on board with His plan and accept our authority and operate in it, walk in it. And so anyway, I was kind of verbalizing my frustrations with the Lord. Did we? I wouldn't call it prayer. I mean, Lord, did we miss it? What about some of your prophets? And I'm not talking about most of your YouTube prophets. I'm not a prophet. You already know that, but I'm not under any delusions that I am, because I know I'm not. I just had a dream that came true. But a few prophets that most people would respect, and say these are people that, that they have respect for as a prophet of God. So did they miss it? They're saying that, things are going to be restored as well. And did I miss it? Did we miss it? And I'm just kind of questioning God, And the very next day, I actually did a reading of my scriptures. I do. It's like the Old Testament and then some New Testament. And all right, this is what I read today. It's like a 1-year Bible plan. And I came across 2 scriptures that were like a direct answer to my frustrations that I was displaying to the Lord. And this is in Numbers 11 and verse 23, but I'll start just a little bit earlier. This is when they were crying out for meat, and the Lord was giving them manna, and they cried out for meat. And Moses responded to the Lord, and it's like, God told him, you're going to eat meat for a month. Moses said, there's 600,000 soldiers here with me, and yet you say I will give them meat for a month? And he's saying, even if they butchered, flocks and herds and fish, how would there be enough? And this is the Lord's response. Then the Lord said to Moses, has my arm lost its power? Now you will see whether or not my word comes true. Okay, that kind of, it's like, that sounds like a definite, a response to my questioning the Lord and the things that I was sensing, the things that others were sensing. And I kind of felt like that was a direct response, the Lord's kind of putting me in my place, but, God doesn't care if we question Him. It's perfectly fine. He answers us. He answers us. And that's what we thank the Lord for. And then I got to the New Testament. This was in Luke. Where was this? Have I forgotten already? Luke 1:20. And so we'll go to Luke 1:20. Just bear with me, please. Luke 1:20. And it says, this was when, I thought this was so interesting too, because it's the same, territory here, where he was in the temple and he didn't believe what Gabriel had told him. This was regarding John the Baptist and the birth of John the Baptist. He said, but since you didn't believe what I said, you will be silent and unable to speak until the child is born. Well, thank God he didn't make me silent. I appreciate that. For my words will certainly be fulfilled at the proper time. And that kind of, is another thing that kind of like was a direct answer to my questioning the Lord on some things. And so I was very encouraged by that. And then I saw where things, were starting to, as they continue to count the votes, and it's kind of stretching it out, like taking way too long. They don't appear to like maybe the way things are going, which things are going in the right direction. And so I was listening, and they mentioned something about a hurricane. I didn't really think anything about it. I thought, I haven't heard anything about a hurricane, but my dream was about a hurricane. And so I went to bed, and I'm like, what was the name of that hurricane? And so I looked up the name of the hurricane, Nicole. And so I had realized, that these names of some of these hurricanes, because my dream was about a hurricane, had a significance. Maybe not all of them, but that they had a significance. And so I looked it up, and it means victory of the people. Just look up Nicole. What is the meaning of the name Nicole? And it was just right there in huge letters, victory of the people. So I fully believe that we have moved on for the 5 or 10 or 2 or however many people that had listened to my dream. And somebody had wrote a little comment the other day asking me about it. And so I thought I would give this update video, because I do believe, I had felt that that we were moving into a new season. A season where Jehovah has saved it. A season where he's restoring justice and righteousness to the planet. A season where the righteous are rising up, accepting the authority that they have in God, and pressing forward for justice. And within the system that the Lord has established, the proper system the Lord has established through Romans 13, where, the reigns of power are a tyranny to wickedness, not to righteousness, where there's justice restored throughout the earth. I think we're moving into that new system, the new era. I believe we're already in it. I think we have just moved into that new system. That doesn't mean that we're not engaged. That doesn't mean that we go back to sleep. That it means that we accept our authority the Lord's given, and that we move in it, we walk in it with confidence and faith in Him. And I hope that encourages you. I'm encouraged by it. If you go back and you watch my video of my dream, you'll understand why. Because I was very nervous. I still haven't disclosed part of that dream. If I had, you would have been shaking in your boots as well. But thank God, I believe we've moved into this new time. Thank God for it, and God bless you.